I'm rubber, you're glue. What you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Okay, so if you've never heard that before, it's something that it's common for children to say on playgrounds all over, at least in America. I heard that when I was a child. And what it means, it's used to, when somebody calls you a name, it indicates that whatever names or words someone uses in an attempt to offend or insult you, those words bounce off you and they stick to the name caller. So that's essentially saying that you're what you're calling me. Now, I'm going to be talking about Russian propaganda, Russian state media, and I have one point and only one point today, and that is the frame through which I read Pravda, RT, TASS, and other Russian state media when it's an official something that Putin puts out or whatever. The frame that I use, the filter that I use, is I say, okay, whatever they're saying about Ukraine or about the West or about the United States or NATO is kind of what they're probably doing. And this isn't a perfect filter, but it is a really good filter. It doesn't always work, but much of the time, you'll see why that actually is a good way of looking at things. So let's look at a number of articles. This is in Pravda, the USA should stop making attempts to undermine Russia's security. Okay, well, wait, what? Okay, so Russia at the same time has been notorious for undermining, involving themselves in elections and disinformation and other things in the United States. Vladimir Yermolov, director of the Department of Non-Proliferation and Arms Control of the Russian Foreign Ministry, commented, and here's his comment. However, in the worst case scenario, that is, if Washington brings the situation to a military confrontation between the world's two largest nuclear powers, one will rather have to worry about the fate of the whole world. Wait, you're talking about security. Who is nuclear arms, saber rattling? It's not the U.S. The U.S. isn't out there going, you know what? We might have a nuclear war if you keep this up. We're gonna throw down. They're not doing that. So the U.S. should take steps to de-escalate the situation, is what he's saying. Actually, if you rubber and glue the situation, Russia really needs to take steps to de-escalate the situation because they're the ones escalating the situation in that sense, in the saber-rattling kind of sense. Okay, here's another article. Tucker Carlson. By the way, all these articles were yesterday or this morning. Tucker Carlson leaves Fox News amid signs of American totalitarianism. Now, that's pretty rich coming from a state that is, well, let's just look at, this was a month ago in The Economist, more than 15,000 Russians have been arrested in anti-war protests. Somebody got sent to 25 years for speaking out against the state just last week. So, okay, Dmitry Puchov, aka Goblin, a Russian blogger and translator, believes that TV presenter Tucker Carlson's dismissal from Fox News channel is a sign of impending totalitarianism. Now that's kind of rich coming from Russia. Hey, here's his quote. We can see them moving toward a form of their own totalitarianism. We can already see that all the local media already march in formation, doing what they're being told, saying things that need to be said. This is being carried in Pravda. And I'm sure equivalent is being carried in TASS or RT or something along those lines. But it's just, this is I'm rubber, you're glue. Here's another example. So let's look at this. It's better to divide Ukraine quietly than to start World War III, says Medvedev. Okay, now it's better to conduct. Now this is a map of Ukraine. Now what you automatically notice about the map is that it looks a little odd. Here, this is already part of Russia and part of the map. Then there's a whole another chunk that is the demilitarized zone, right? This is, I don't know what this is, if that's going to be its own country or what's in his head. And then there's whatever's left of Ukraine. Now, here's what he has to say. It's better to conduct a quiet division of Ukraine between Poland and other countries than to start a war or make Ukraine a NATO member. But, the only reason that you're in this war, let's rubber glue it, the only reason that this is a war is because they weren't a NATO member. If they were a NATO member, none of this would have happened in Ukraine. Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council said, Poland, Hungary, and Romania have long dreamed of taking over Ukraine's western regions. Rubber and glue it, Russia has lusted over taking Ukraine. Poland and Hungary and Romania, maybe centuries ago, were interested in fighting with Ukrainians and taking the land, but that's long gone. The countries that want to obtain Ukrainian territories want to implement their plans as soon as possible, while Russia and the West have not reached agreements in principle. No, rubber and glue. Russia wants to take over Ukrainian territories as soon as possible. Now, this isn't the first time that Medvedev has floated something like this. This is a picture on a Romanian journal, but this was on, and I remember seeing it when it came out, on Medvedev's Telegram channel. This is Ukraine. Okay, this is now part of Poland all the way to Lviv, and this is what's left of Ukraine, and this is Romania's slice, and Moldova's here. Russia has taken all the way over to here. Like, this was on his Telegram channel. So again, rubber glue, and this is what you have. All right, let's look at another one. Here's RT, Russia Today. Truth is our most potent weapon, says ex-U.S. Navy technician behind the pro-Russian Tax-Deductible collection. And here's what she has to say. RT's interviewing her. Were Pentagon leaks a one-off stroke of journalistic luck, or should we expect more insider information to be revealed by your team in the future? And Sarah Bills, the Tax-Deductible, says, our commitment to journalistic integrity... Wait, stop there. Journalistic integrity. It appears that she may have been the person that altered the 7-to-1 ratio on some of the documents. If she hasn't, she hasn't. But she might have been. And if she was, then... journalistic integrity? Okay. The information in question came to our attention via a tip that we received through our Telegram chat. RT, how did you come up with the name Tax-Deductible? Sarah Bills, at Tax-Deductible, our mission is to bring a human touch to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and to focus on the plight of the people in the Donbass region who have been bearing the brunt of unrelenting shelling and devastation since 2014. But why? What started the unrelenting shelling since 2014? It was little green men in Donbass that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Okay, a little bit further down. What advantages do you believe that you have over Five Eyes and social media entities sponsored by them, including NAFO? In our struggle against powerful entities such as Five Eyes and NAFO, our primary advantage is our unwavering dedication to the truth. Okay. Really? You're going to say that after? Okay, we just established that. We believe that truth is not only our most potent weapon, but also our strongest defense. This is a rubber glue kind of scenario. Sarah Bliss answering another question. She was asked in your Wall Street Journal interview, you said that you never broke any U.S. laws. Well, here she is, Sarah Bills. In adhering to the law, I have not broken any U.S. regulations. Not so sure that that's the case, Sarah. So here's Jake about a week ago talking about the very same thing.
Interviewed by FBI agents at her Oak Harbor, Washington home on Sunday, according to Newsmax, and is also under investigation by NCIS. So I do think she's in trouble for numerous reasons. I'm sure a woman as crazy as this, at the very least, they can get her for tax evasion.
Yep.
I doubt she was declaring as income all the money she was stealing from these people who thought they were donating money to a woman in the Donbass region. She also partnered, I guess, with some Russian companies for merchandise.
Yep.
And yeah, while serving on active duty, that's a no-no. When the Wall Street Journal called her, she talked to them. She willingly gave an interview. This woman is not very smart. She continuously keeps talking, keeps lying, because she can't help herself. The smartest thing this woman could do is to stop talking and just go away and hope nobody investigates her.
But she decided that it was a better idea to give an interview to RT to talk about, her side of the story and how she's, truth is the most powerful weapon. Okay, let's just look at just a little bit more. Here is Sergei Lavrov at the UN. He is chairing the UN Security Council because it's Russia's turn this month. And so he had some interesting rubber and glue kind of things to say as well. So Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov chaired Monday's session of the UN Security Council. The meeting was dedicated to effective multilateralism as Moscow continues to emphasize its intentions to emphasize. Okay, so there's not anybody proving this. Its intentions to help change the world order. In his opening remarks, Lavrov outlined the nature of the current conflict, which he said was really between the UN Charter and the rules-based order of the collectivist West. That is, he's saying that the UN and what the UN stands for is at odds with the international order as it stands and the rules-based order of the West, that is America and Europe and what they're standing for. No, they're not at odds. This is rubber glue. But who's at odds? Russia is at odds by disrupting, upending the international order by invading its neighbor. Crisis of the world order. By the way, this again is in RT. Remember that as you're reading through this. UN-centric system is going through a deep crisis caused by some members' desire to replace international law with their rules-based order. If you hear that and think rubber glue, you hear some members, Russia, desire to replace international law with their alternative world order. Okay. Such rules are invented ad hoc and applied to stop independent development. They are enforced through means ranging from military force to embargoes, financial sanctions, confiscation of property, destruction of critical infrastructure, likely a reference to the sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipelines. But you know what? I remember critical infrastructure being devastated in Ukraine as they were targeting a civilian population, trying to make them freeze during the winter. I see military force in Ukraine, rubber and glue. Gross violations of the UN Charter, in addition to the string of U.S. military adventures. And he goes on from Yugoslavia to Iraq to Libya to the worst violation of the UN Charter was its meddling in the affairs of post-Soviet states, Lavrov said. As examples, he brought up the color revolutions in Georgia, in Kyrgyzstan, and the 2014 coup in Kyiv. Now, again, this is a common trope. Now, beyond the rubber glue thing, they like to say things without any evidence, assert things as if they're true, as if the 2014 coup in Kyiv was produced by the United States, where there was a coup in Ukraine where they seized Crimea in 2014. But they don't talk about that. That's not the same thing. Let's not talk about that one. That's like crazy. Today, it is clear to everyone. Really? Clear to everyone? Okay. That the Ukraine conflict isn't about Ukraine at all, but about how international relations will be built through crafting a stable consensus based on a balance of interest or through aggressive and explosive promotion of hegemony, Lavrov said. But what's Russia doing? It's promoting its hegemony in the region by trying to co-opt Ukraine and take it under its control. So, again, they're saying the same thing. So, how to save the UN? The West undermines the principle of multilateralism. But who's unilaterally doing what they're doing to their neighbor, Ukraine? There's nothing multilateral about that. So, again, this is produced in RT. This is what happens when Russia is chairing the Security Council. Now let's hear Lavrov in his own words on RT.
The UN-centric system is currently going through a deep crisis. The root cause of this was the desire of individual members of this organization to replace international law and the UN Charter with a sort of rules-based order. But no one has actually seen these rules. They have not been the subject of transparent international negotiations. The result is the fragmentation of global trade.
It's almost like someone saying, nobody's told me that I couldn't steal. Like nobody told me I couldn't do that. We know you shouldn't be stealing, right? But no, but we haven't seen these. You do know what the rules of international law are, and you have wantonly violated them. But again,
the collapse of market mechanisms, the paralysis of the WTO, and the final undisguised transformation of the IMF into an instrument for achieving the goals of the US and its allies.
Right. He's upset that the world is using these mechanisms to fight back against him when he's unilaterally opposing Ukraine. Now, the good news was that he's not... So in RT, you can say anything that you want because you essentially control the media, and people in Russia have to hear it because if we, block out other media, they can't say it. Now I'm going to go to, this is Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera was talking about this very thing. A string of Security Council members, including the U.S., France, and the United Kingdom, condemned Russia for its war on Ukraine just immediately after Lavrov talked. By organizing this debate, Russia is trying to portray itself as a defender of the UN Charter and multilateralism. Nothing can be further from the truth. It is cynical, European Union Ambassador Olaf Sug said. The UK's Ambassador Barbara Woodward said that the world has seen what Russia's idea of multilateralism means for the world, trampling on the UN Charter in a war that has brought unimaginable suffering to Ukraine and has been an unmitigated disaster for Russia too, and it really has. Washington's UN Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield clutched a copy of the UN Charter in her hand and stressed the importance of defending its values. Our hypocritical convener today, Russia, invaded its neighbor in Ukraine and struck at the heart of the UN Charter, says Thomas Greenfield. And not to be outdone, the Secretary General of the UN said this.
We face unprecedented and interlocking crises, but the multilateral system is under greater strain than at any time since the creation of the United Nations. Tensions between major powers are at an historic high. So are the risks of conflict through misadventure or miscalculation.
Right.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine, in violation of the United Nations Charter and international law, is causing massive suffering and devastation to the country and its people, and adding to the global economic dislocation triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's right. So he's not going to let him off the hook either, and so that's what we need to do. Again, if you want to understand, and this is my one point for today, if you want to understand Russian state media, their propaganda, one thing that will really help you understand things is when they say something about their opponent, it's really kind of what they're doing. I'm rubber, you're glue. Thanks for your time. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for the coffees. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. And thank you most of all for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.